Hello, and welcome to RIME Entertainment Showcase with your hosts, Rita and Mel.
Hi everyone, and welcome to RIME Entertainment Showcase. Today, our guest is James Passey, who's a singer-songwriter and musician. Welcome to the show, James.
Hello, hiya, nice to be here, thanks.
So tell us about your journey. Where did the love of music start, and when did you know that you wanted a career in music?
I don't know, so that's our question. I suppose just from a very early age, music kind of just had a very profound effect on me. When I was a kid, just listening to music on the radio, and I think I'd never really played music. I kind of failed at playing the recorder at school, and I could never read music, so I was kind of thrown out of school orchestra and stuff. But I kind of and was more into sport, as a kid. Mad about football and tennis and all, cricket and all that. I was good at sport, but I was never the musical one in my family. My brother was a violinist, and he was kind of always considered the musical one. Parents like to label kids and whatever, and I was probably the sporty one. But then I don't know, around sort of 14, maybe 14, 15, I think I saw a mate of mine play. We went into just sort of hanging around the sort of local shopping centre, mall, or what you call it, when we were kids, and we went into a music shop and he could play a bit of guitar.
Yeah,
I was like, bloody hell, that's amazing. I really and I just kind of I think he's probably the guy that kind of first. But I got into very early on. I got very much into all the acoustic singer-songwriters.
yeah,
Paul Simon,
brilliant. Yeah,
James Taylor, all that really old school 70s sort of. I just got very struck very early on by the idea of playing a guitar, and writing songs with a guitar. That kind of just simple, very simple thing, that what an amazing thing to be able to do. Kind of struck me, and I just think I got hooked very young into that concept of having a guitar and being able to write songs like The Boxer or whatever, putting the Simon and Garfunkel type stuff, or James Tate. That's probably where. So I was probably about 14 or 15, and then I just started writing songs quite early on. I think pretty crap. Most, obviously you kind of start because songwriting it's a craft like anything else.
Yeah.
But I've probably had a good ear for melody. I think I've always been struck, very affected by melody. So that's what I'm obsessed with and kind of very focused on is melody. And that's why I strive to write songs with as strong as melody as I can. I mean, I think I think I'm okay, but there are people like Paul Simon and I don't know, the greats. They just have this incredible ear and connection to melody, which most people and the kind of, for me, most of the songwriters and stuff just doesn't have that same level of connection to melody. So and that's kind of why partly I do it, because I'm so I get so pissed off with what I hear on the radio, that it's so crap, so much of it to my ear, that that's kind of why I probably carried on doing it into the age that I am now, because obviously I'm not in my 20s anymore. So though I like to be, not. So it's kind of always that kind of obsession that so much of what I heard was kind of a bit crap, but obviously some great stuff too. Like I was really, I'm a 90s kid really, so all the Britpop stuff, Oasis, Blur, The Verve, the Lars, the Lars. I love the Lars. There She Goes. That was always a song I've always loved, and that's just got an incredible melody to me. Very simple, but so that's the kind of stuff that I've always strove to kind of write. And I kind of left school, kind of not, I was expelled from school, funny enough. When I was sort of 7th doing my A-levels. But I was always, once I'd got that music bug, I'd always kind of, you know, it's in you and the writing. And I didn't go straight into bands. I've always come to things quite late because I didn't, a lot of friends I know, they were in bands at sort of 17, 18, 19. But when I left school, I kind of went traveling. I ended up in Spain and lived out in Spain for a couple of years, sort of working on the coast, sort of cleaning boats and stuff. And did two, so, and then I did a year teaching English.
Brilliant, yeah.
But then I came back to the UK when I was about 20, 21, I think, and just got a mate of mine when I came back. I'd got this band together, and he knew I was a good guitarist and songwriter, and he asked me to join, and that was kind of it. Once I joined, and I got involved, and I kind of took it over, I guess, because I was always the sort of more creative force in it, and I was good at kind of organising stuff around, you know, getting gigs and talking to promoters.
Right.
And so we did this band for about 4 or 5 years, and you know, we did very well. We were based in Maidstone down in Kent. Yeah. And you know, we got a big following, and we were probably like the biggest band in Maidstone, you know, for those few years. And we were ended up supporting Kula Shaker, you know, 4 or 5 times. Once in Maidstone, they came down to support us, and we would support them in London and Camden.
Okay,
you know, the venues, like? the Monarch, and the Dublin Castle was another big venue then. Oh, amazing! They were the best band. We did that circuit for about 4 years, I think, 4 or 5, and they were by far the best band we ever played with. Yeah, they were amazing, and they gave us a lot of inspiration because they were just so good. Kind of inspired us to be better. And,
do you think that was like the most iconic moment, or was there any other points that you felt like, okay, yeah, we're making it, we're getting there?
No, that was definitely. Well, when we first started, we supported them. We were doing this gig at the Monarch, which I loved. They were great times because it was very raw. And it was sort of kind of, you know, all spitting sawdust, and it was kind of all that, and it was kind of, you know, beer with, you know, soap floors and all that sort of. But I loved that. But it was a really cool vibe, and it was a lot of indie live band stuff around them, as you probably know. And we were just doing this gig, and on walks this band. You know, they were called the K's actually. When they were called the K's to begin with, and they just blew us away. I mean, I hated to admit it because obviously there's a lot of jealousy with bands, but you know, but they. I mean, I don't think that. Well, I don't think their songs were better than ours. In fact, they were as good as some of them, but they were just incredible music. You know, just this live vibe. They had the Hammond organ guy, and they just looked great, and they just sounded great. And so that was definitely a moment. And I remember thinking, well, if this lot don't get signed, because they were unsigned at that time, then I thought, you know, what hope is there for us, sort of thing, you know? And then literally within about, I think it was over the next 8 or 9 months, they got signed, and their manager liked our stuff, and we supported them a couple more times in London. They came down to Maidstone, and then we supported them the night they were signed to whoever, I think I can't remember if it was EMI or Warner's, I think it might be Warner's. We supported them the night they were showcased to the industry.
Okay. Brilliant.
So that was a big moment, one of those moments you're talking about. And literally we then signed to Metropolis, who were the V Festival founders.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of label interest ourselves. We did the Water Rats a couple of times, which was one of the best venues to play as an unsigned band. And we had about 6-7 labels call me back. We all lived in a house together as a band. Maidstone's old bungalow. It was, you know, a pit, but it was great. And that was another moment. You know, I literally sitting on my windowsill having a fag out the window, and 6 or 7 record labels called me at home.
Wow,
big one. You know, quite big labels as well. So that felt like one of, absolutely,
definitely.
But that's kind of one of the brutal realities of the music, you know, even though we had all that, and we ended up signed to Metropolis, who were the V Festival founders, we still didn't actually make it, you know. Kind of things just didn't work out. A few things kind of, you know, got in the way. But that's kind of. But another little was with them, we supported Catatonia, Keris Matthews.
Yeah.
That was at the Monarch as well, and like Jarvis Cocker was in the audience, and
Amazing.
Pulp, and that was definitely one of those. That was probably the biggest moment of, I thought, hello, you know,
Yeah.
we're here, sort of thing. So that was a cool moment.
Definitely. Wow.
So you took a break from the industry for a while, and then you came back. I mean, when you came back, how different was it in terms of the whole industry?
Well, very. I mean, that's just so that, to explain that, I mean, because that as the band, we got, you know, to that point, and we thought everything was going to happen, and then it didn't. That was kind of devastating to us. So I kind of decided, you know, look, and you're basically, you're what, you know, in your, you know, late 20s or whatever, and that, I don't know, I kind of felt old then, you know, because I was skint and I didn't have a career, and that happens to a lot of musicians, you know, bands. They put this time into, and then they end up, you know, I know so many people that kind of, you know, and I could see going forward older guys who'd been in bands, you know, down the pub, you know, I was in a band, you know, back, and we supported, you know, some band you never heard of, like, you know, from Goat's Head Soup or something. Yeah, we were, you know, supported them in Brighton in '72 or something, like, and you're like, oh god. And I just didn't want to end up. I don't want to be one of those guys. So I kind of realised I've got to get, you know, I had to earn some money. So I kind of left the industry. But I was gutted. I was devastated. You know, it was like, you know, being in a bad divorce or something. You know. And I did quite well. I did completely. I worked at Harrods for a few years, which was great for a year, and then it got terrible, you know, because you weren't, you know, I was on like 15 grand a year. You know, no mate, you earn no money, so it was great for a year, good fun, but after a while, it kind of, you felt like, oh my god, you know, I'm just never going to get anywhere, you know, and luckily I got myself into IT recruitment, funny enough, which was totally, you know, not my, you know, I know nothing about IT, still don't, you know, couldn't be a less knowledgeable person about it, but I was good at kind of with people, and with a bit of a gob on me, probably. I talk a lot, you probably noticed that. Anyway, I did well at that, and I really enjoyed it for a few years. It was good crack, and I earned good money, and that's kind of enabled me to do this now. Because I was living in London, and I, you know, managed to buy a place, which I would never have done with music. So, you know, which couldn't have happened. So, and with kind of, I sold my place in London, moved out to somewhere in the country, and just started writing again, but like about 3 or 4 years ago. And it is completely different now. Going back to so before, in the 90s and pre-2000s, there were hundreds of indie labels, you know, and A&R guys, you know, and you knew if you played in these venues in London, for us it was more Camden, the Monarch, the Dublin Castle, the Falcon, all in Camden. Then you had the Water Rats, those that you just never knew who could be there watching, you know, and that, because that was exciting, because you always had this dream that you were going to be spotted, and that happened to us. We did the Water Rats, and we had a packed audience because we had quite a big following, so we took a coach load up from Maidstone, 1 or 2 coach loads it was, and we filled this venue, and literally the next day we had like these record labels, you know. So that was the dream, and that was really, you know, it was a kind of romance to it, a really big. Now it just doesn't exist. There are no labels. There are no indie labels. You know, they've all gone. You know, it's all sort of majors, and there's even less. The majors bought up the other big majors. You know, like Universal own, you know, everybody pretty much. You know, which is really, to my mind, is kind of very tragic. Because you need, you know, we need, and there's this kind of. So of course it's all online. It's all on, you know, and it's all really, to me, it's all a bit fake. You know, the people are desperate. You know, kind of fake numbers, fake followers. They kind of, you know, it's all about manipulating or playing these algorithm stuff. I mean, it's not all, but a lot of it. You know, I have a lot of discussions with. To me, that's pretty. It's just quite sad, because it shouldn't be about that. You know, as musicians and artists, we should be we should be writing songs and going out gigging. Not trying to, you know, But then saying that, the irony is, and this is terrible, I feel like a complete hypocrite, because all the stuff that I've got going on now, all this amazing stuff and big names, ironically, of course, that has all come through sort of social media, not the normal through Facebook, which is quite unusual. It's not through Twitter. It was just this weird thing through Facebook. I just seem to have been picked up from these videos from which is kind of old school, and I know it's kind of but so I can't complain, because it has been amazing for me.
That's good.
But it has changed an awful lot. It's very hard for musicians to monetize now because of the streaming, so that's our big dilemma, that how the hell do you make any money now? There's no money in recorded music. No one wants to pay for recorded music anymore.
Exactly.
And of course, there's the live thing. So the catch-22 is that it's all live. That's where how does an unknown artist, how do you get people to your, how do you put bums on set? So it's a catch-22, you can't get people in numbers to a gig to make money, because that's the conundrum.
I mean, kind of moving on, like you mentioned, you've had some connections and people spotting your music from Facebook, and moving on now. What has that been like for you since hearing that news, or hearing some of that information through the grapevine kind of thing?
What, since I got picked up kind of stuff? Well, it's just been crazy, mental. I just don't know. It just seems things seem to be happening on this almost daily basis now. The first thing I started writing about 3 or 4 years ago, and I moved down here because my old bandmate had moved to here, Dorset. That's why I moved out to this area. And we started, we got a band together like the old times, and it was great. But we did a few gigs, and bands are very hard work now. So for a number of reasons, people have issues, families, alcohol problems, whatever, all sorts of shit. So it just becomes that. So I decided, I'm going to go on my own, do my own stuff, and I just sent off some demo tapes, and I got just very simple acoustic, and I got picked up by one of the top law firms in the industry, a firm called Clinton's, who want to look after Radiohead, Paul Weller, Muse, Royal Blood. That's like the guy from there kind of picked up these 2 songs, and he helped me for a while. So that was the first kind of wow. Because back in the day, in the band days, we never got picked up from demos. It was always being seen live. We sent demos off to we never got any response from any labels. So this was like a totally new thing. And I got picked up by a big publisher called Notting Hill as well, Notting Hill Music. Okay. They really liked it. So that was kind of where it started. But then things dried up a little bit, because the lawyer guy, he touted my stuff to a few labels. I think one was EMI, and 2 Cobalt and Pier, which are sort of newer labels geared towards this new model of online, people, artists. But none of them were. They all liked the stuff, but they were like, "How many followers has he got?" And because I don't really work the social media thing in that way,
and that's what they're focused on.
I had about 40 followers, or whatever. You need about, I think you need 50,000 minimum for a label to sign. So, but anyway, then literally about 6 months ago, I just posted this video up, this track I recorded on an iPhone that so it was during lockdown, and I just recorded this thing on an iPhone, and it got sent to a producer who tarted it up a bit. He kind of put some sparkle on it, and it just sounded great. And I got a producer friend of mine who I'd worked with as well, a guy called George Schilling, who's an amazing producer, worked with Primal Scream and Stevie Winwood and a lot of big names, Cardigans and all that. He added cello to it for me, all for free, because it was lockdown and people just and so a friend of mine, Mim, who's an amazing singer, she put back, we put this video to it that I cobbled footage from YouTube, just nicked it off YouTube, some footage of a bloke driving around in the dark, in the rain, through a storm in America. that video got loved and shared by Nick McCabe from The Verve.
Wow.
So that was like another mass. That's probably
Yeah.
like the biggest moment in my musical career. Yeah. And he wrote this lovely endorsement for my website. And just I was literally on cloud nine for about a month and a half. I still am. You know, The Verve were like my favourite band of the 90s. And he's one of my top 5. But I've always had this thing, if I could have 4 or 5 guitarists play on it, he was one of them. Johnny Marr from the Smiths, the guy from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Mike I Love, and Mark Knopfler I'm a big fan of. So they were like these 4 or 5, and one of them had shared this track. So that was that sort of stuff changes your life, even if it doesn't inside. It kind of changes it changed my belief. It gave me this belief thing, which I've always lacked, this sort of total self-belief thing, but that kind of has definitely helped with that.
I love the fact though that even though when you were in the band and to now to the music that you're making, you are getting attention from the right people. You know, obviously it's all changed, but your music is hitting people. It's touching people's lives. And I think, you know, going back to your early when you started, I mean, just reflecting on that, would you have thought that, wow, you know, these big names, I would have connected with them? It's just
no, of course you don't. You can't. The thing is about the music industry, one thing you realise is it's a very small world. You know, they all know, and it's a scene. You're either in it, inside it, or you're on. Simple as that. Either you're in it or you're not. And if you're not, you just don't get the gigs. It's the way it is. So for instance, back in, one thing I realised through as it passed, the years passed, when back in the 90s, if we'd got signed, even if we hadn't have been successful, if you're signed as a band, you get your doors are open to all different kinds of opportunities because you're in the industry, and you know people within the industry. But because we weren't, we never got to meet those people properly. So we didn't get, you know, I was always on the outside, and I knew all this stuff. I always knew these songs because people always said, you know, those songs are amazing, blah blah, and I've probably got better at writing, obviously, as I've got older. Sort of stuff I don't. But you're still on the outside, and even you write these songs, you know, and it's very odd, you know, a song that I've written 2 or 3 years ago that might have, you know, suddenly people are going, yeah, that's great, you know, but never really getting any kind of traction. They're now getting traction 2 or 3 years after you've written them. And it's kind of weird because they're exactly the same song.
It's
exactly
just
the same
timing, isn't it? It's just
timing.
about the timing.
Well, it's timing, and just being picked up by the right people, you know, simple as that. You know, the right people can just change your. And of course, if when such and such says it's a great song, everyone else go, because people are like, sadly, a bit sheep-like. They cotton on to what, you know, they think someone else, and that is how the music game works. You know, there's so many people in the business who are, you know, they're children of someone well-known or TV. So it's all about connection. It's all about being connected to the right people. So, you know, but completely. I mean, I've had a few things. It was him. I've just literally this week had a call from this guy, Chris Kimsey. I told you, I think I might have mentioned it. You know, he did 5 or 6 Rolling Stones albums, and he worked in INXS. You know, some massive. Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears. Amazing. So I'm now, you know, things just seem to be happening every day. He's putting some tracks forward to this big American artist that he's working with, and he's hopefully going to produce a track of mine as well. And that's the thing. As soon as you're working with these kind of people, you know, people are like, wow, you know, and I am too, of course, but they're still the same songs.
You
know, so it's kind of, it is a strange feelings, strange situation. It feels a bit surreal.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So what would you say keeps you motivated to keep going? I mean, obviously there's lots of things
Poverty.
that come up.
Desperation. I just listen. You kind of, I love music. I've always loved writing and things about it's always new. There's always something new to discover, play. Unlike anything else I've had in my life, a guitar and writing has been a constant. People come and go, girlfriends come and go, whatever. So but that's always there. It's and it's always my guitars. I don't know if you can see them over there. They're they're just wonderful things that you can pick up and play, and I never get bored because I can always play. Motivated. I mean, I've done all sorts of jobs in my life, hundreds, thousands. I've been sacked from all of them. And I've nothing I want to do I've enjoyed more or anything like playing music and writing songs, and I'm lucky in that I'm able to do it now. I kind of, because I had those few years out of the industry where I earned some good money, and I had a place. I live very simply. I can't, but I'm lucky that I'm able to do it full time and concentrate on it. And
good, yeah.
And I'm not, for me, I mean, talking about the monetization thing, so I'm not motivated by money. Never have been really, but be nice to earn a few quid for it, so I can continue doing it and do better things and get to do. But ultimately, I'm motivated by, for me, the recognition thing was much more important. These games, the thing from Nick McCabe, and this latest thing with Chris Kimsey, and I've had stuff from Martin Page. He was Bernie Taupin's co-writer, and he's written with everybody, Barbara Streisand, Robbie Williams. He's written stuff with people, endorsements from people like that. That's changed my whole
definitely
sense of who I am, what a writer I am, and so that was always far more important to me. Probably because I lack self-belief. Always have that, because I wasn't, like, going back to the first group. No, I was never the musical one in my family. I've never had any training. I don't read music. And my guitar thing is quite unique, because I don't, when people play guitar or learn guitar, they want to learn all the widdly diddly kind of. I don't do any of that. My stuff's very just acoustic and old school finger picky stuff, which is a bit out of fashion, really. Now, really. So the motivation is for that side of things, really, and to earn obviously it'd be nice to have a bit of commercial success too, but that's not really what drives me.
It's just a love for the music.
So
I mean, for our viewers, where can they go to find out more about James Passey?
Argos. All good, super. My website, yes, and YouTube. My website is jamespassey.com, www.james, and there's loads of endorsements and quotes on there from these people we've mentioned, and other tracks and YouTube stuff on the links. And I've just done this debut EP that went really well, because I'm kind of trying to rail against the kind of current model for this free streaming stuff. So I've tried to keep it all solid. Something solid, a CD, an EP, something that someone can hold, and because that's what I loved. And that's really worked for me. People have really bought into that, and people got really excited about it. And I've been really quite blown away by the response for that. For instance, like with the streaming, I've had thousands of streams on my Spotify, but I've never earned a penny out of it. I think I've got 100,000 streams on my Spotify. I've never seen a penny, but I sold I think I've sold about 120 odd these little EPs, which I'll show you. I've got on it. yeah, so that was the EP that I did. You know?
Okay, brilliant. Yeah.
I'll send you one. Actually, you have to give me your address. I'll send you a copy.
Brilliant, love it.
And I saw I mean, that's nothing. I sold about 120 of these a tenner a go. So I've made over £1,000, pounds in a few months. I just
There you go.
never seen it. So it's a big, and some people, like, I've sold these. I've got quite a few fans in the States now, and a few of them. One guy's had like 15 copies of this.
Amazing. That's great.
And yeah, so and they in America, the Americans have all paid. I was selling these for $9.99, and the people were sending me like 25 quid for it.
Oh wow,
brilliant!
Which is really lovely, you know. And that's the thing.
It's that appreciation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that, and again,
well, yeah,
you know,
totally like that.
Yeah. And I think, like, there's nothing better than having that hard copy CD or that cassette, you know, going centuries ago now. Do you know what I mean? Just having that.
I never liked
cassettes.
Value
that. I value those a lot more than, you know, okay, you take things like Spotify or anything for granted because it's just something you've got on your phone. But when you've got something hard copy, whether you've gone to the shop to buy it, if there are shops that sell CDs anymore, I have no idea.
You've been reading my rants.
Yeah, reading those as well, but yeah.
There's something magical in something, so, you know, it's a completely different reaction to it, you know. And I stream stuff on, I don't even like you, it's so cold.
Yeah.
It's so impersonal. There's nothing, you know, on here, on an old, you know, people, not this, but, you know, the old, you can read where someone was written, you know, where it was recorded, who the producer was, who played, and that's the stuff that I love, you know. Who played guitar on that? Oh, you know, where did he record? And that's how I've learned so much about, you know, the people that I've got connected to, you know, the famous people. I know all that because I've read it on, because I'm interested in that. I wouldn't know. A lot of people don't even know who the guitarist from the Verve is, for instance.
Exactly. Yeah.
But nowadays they wouldn't. They just listen to the song and they're like, oh, it's good, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
They don't know who the guitarist is, who you know, who wrote the lyrics, who did what. You know, I kind of know all that stuff because that's what I'm interested in. And I'm fascinated by that. But yeah, so but I mean, vinyl, going on from be nice to do a vinyl, but that's kind of more costly. And, you know, at my point where I'm at, although I've had all this kind of, you know, well-known people, let's say, kind of, I'm still not commercially at that level where I've got enough to be able to, you know, whack. But hopefully I'm not, you know, that's not too far down the, you know, line. We'll see. But you know, you've got to have probably like 1,000 hardcore followers, probably, that, you know, they're going to actually part with money. Because that's the other, because of the Spotify thing. No one's used to paying for music anymore, and that's quite a hard thing to get over, obstacle now, you know. But I do love YouTube though. I will admit to liking YouTube. I prefer that to Spotify. No, as an experience.
Brilliant.
But yeah, you've shared with us so much in terms of, and what comes across is your passion and your love for your music, and I think
it's so important.
That is so important, and, you know, our viewers will definitely get that from this interview. So thank you for being an amazing
thanks for asking me. Listen, send me yours and I'll send you a copy, and
we'll do.
Stay in touch. We'll maybe hook up again when, you know, more things happen. I don't know. And
absolutely.
Keep us posted, updated. Yeah,
good. It's good that people like you do this sort of stuff.
Thank you.
It's nice that, it's very important for people like us, you know.
Thank you so much.
There's so many talented people like yourself, so if we can help
anyway, just to push that word out there and get more viewers inspired, and that's our mission.
Cool. Nice.
Thank
you.
Take care.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more RIME Entertainment Showcase.